A lot is happening around Fallout 76, including around its Wastelanders DLC. As some of you, in just 1 week's time, will be able to play Fallout 76's Wastelanders DLC. In this video, we're going to go over just about everything to do with that, but separately we'll also be taking a look at some other news around this game, some new Atomic Shop releases that are notable, and finally some pretty major updates around the recent hacking situation and Bethesda's response to it. But first and foremost, the thing we have been waiting for, Fallout 76's Wastelanders updates. On a weekly basis, Bethesda posts the Inside the Vault article series, sharing details about Fallout 76 and its future. And these, of course, as of late, have been getting quite a bit of additional attention because we don't know when Wastelanders is coming out, and people definitely want that information. And considering the most recent one was just delayed by a day, people were really excited to see what it would say. And lo and behold, Bethesda revealed not the Wastelanders release date or even any new details about the DLC itself, but rather that starting next week, they're going to be doing a private test server for Wastelanders. So in effect, you can sign up to playtest Wastelanders early. They said they're going to be selecting several hundred people for this, although it is PC only. Although, and this is a very important and defining aspect of this, you will have to fill out an NDA to participate. So you can't take pictures, take videos, or discuss any of the information or things you see while playing. If you're on PC, you could actually go on Bethesda's website right now. I'll have a link to this down below, and as long as you are signed in, you can opt into this. The period for opt-in does end on January 14th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and then on January 17th, 1 week from today, people will be able to start experiencing this for themselves. Although I wouldn't be shocked if Bethesda has a bit of a bias or some hand-picked choices for this one, as even in the post they say we want to ensure that many of our most active and experienced community members have the chance to opt in for consideration. So they likely want veteran players, not somebody who just got the game last week. And separate from that, they go over some extra details around this, discussing how it will be an in-development build of Wastelanders, so there might be some bugs during gameplay, how progress on this test server will not carry over to Wastelanders when that does release, and even sometimes during testing they may end up wiping progress in order to test certain things. But also it seems like this is actually a fairly active role, as it is also described how participants may be asked to actually provide feedback on certain aspects of the game, respond to surveys, or even participate in group discussions. And unlike the Fallout 76 beta, this should be pretty much continuous. Outside of server downtime, once you gain access on January 17th, you'll have access to the server until it is eventually taken down. And that's kind of a good synopsis of this article, but there's a lot to digest from it, and I think some added context could be useful for some of you. So first and foremost, this is very similar to what they did with the Fallout 76 stress test on Xbox One. Although, I think some people may confuse it with something like the Greenbrier event, while it isn't anything like that. At the Greenbrier event, a lot of people in the media were invited to play Fallout 76 early and create footage of it. This isn't that. For me personally, I don't think I'm going to get invited to play on this unless I somehow am randomly selected, and if anything, considering I make videos, they probably don't want me on this. But early on, before the Fallout 76 beta, they had the Xbox One stress test, wherein, very similar to this, people were randomly selected and had to agree to an NDA but could play Fallout 76 early. During that stress test, none of the footage was usable. I may or may not have been able to play that, but even if I did, I couldn't show you that footage right now. I don't think it would be a big deal, and I don't even think most people would notice, but technically you weren't allowed to record footage at all. It's not like it was not showable until a certain date, which makes sense because literally, as this post describes, this could be a potentially buggy version of the game. It's not a media build where they want to show off all of the aspects, it's a build where they want people to test and break things so Bethesda can fix it. So although maybe people will leak this depending on how many people gain access, in the past Bethesda has actually been pretty good at clamping down on leaks. I got a copyright strike from them in the past for covering Nuka World leaks, which basically confirms I will never cover leaks around their games again, and most other YouTubers will likely follow suit. And one final note, they also did after the fact describe how you can bring your existing characters into the PTS for Wastelanders. And overall, I would really say that this is actually good news but anticlimactic news. With this article, I was hoping for and actually expecting a Wastelanders release date, an overview of the DLC in general, a bunch of additional details. But really what I think we got is the more mature option. What Bethesda's doing with this is basically giving it a very real beta. People will be able to test this early and hopefully break it, and then Bethesda will actively work to fix that. They're going to have discourse with the community, hopefully trying to balance or tweak certain things so when everyone actually gets to play it, it'll be in its best state possible. And I would speculate the reason we still don't have a release date for Wastelanders outside of Q1 2020 is the fact that they don't know how broken things will be. Maybe it actually is fairly bug-free right now. Or maybe it's not, and people will play it and start to report a lot of those, and Bethesda will take a considerable chunk of time to fix them. I think this does confirm that Wastelanders is likely just about content complete at this point, so all of the features that were going to be added in the story is all going to be there, and if anything, I feel like this is reflective that they learned from their beta. Before making this video, I read back on some older Fallout 76 interviews, and something described a few times was how they really should have structured their beta differently, having more time to fix some of the issues that popped up. And it seems like this time around, giving themselves basically 2 full months, they definitely are doing that. Which also leads me to believe we are still probably a few weeks away from a release date announcement, because of course they have to let people start breaking it before they know how long it'll take to fix it. I saw a lot of other people, especially console users, a bit upset that they won't be able to participate in this, that it is a PC exclusive, but on that topic, it's just the way things work. In order to push updates on consoles, there are several steps involved with it. There's a process you have to go through with Microsoft or Sony. So it's a lot harder. It makes the whole thing a lot more complicated. And when you're doing a small scale test like this, not just a server stress test, but actually updating things progressively, it just doesn't make sense to do it on consoles, and blaming Bethesda for that I don't think is appropriate because nearly all games have PC exclusive private test servers. But overall, yeah, a really good one. Definitely a good move by Bethesda, and this gets me significantly more hopeful for the future of Wastelanders. I think this is the smart choice, but not necessarily the most popular one. Also on this post about the test server, they actually describe how this is separate from the actual test server. They confirmed late last year that a private test server would be coming to Fallout 76 at some point, so hopefully this private test server for Wastelanders will also just be a test of the private test server that will later get added. Although there actually is an update also coming to Fallout 76, which can be kind of exciting for those of you that don't get invited to this test. Bethesda mentions how with Wastelanders being such a big update, they're going to do some earlier updates to get things ready behind the scenes, and as such, on Tuesday, January 14th, Fallout 76 will receive an update and have to go through downtimes. Reportedly, there'll be several minor changes going along with this to the live servers, but it's really mostly changing things behind the scenes. Although they will publish patch notes, so we'll have a better idea of what is fixed during this. So this is actually really common, and I would say somewhat exciting. A lot of times with Bethesda's DLCs in the past, what they'll do is add in content in waves, but earlier than its release date. Like let's say Wastelanders drops on February 22nd, normally a lot of the content was added in updates leading up to that date, and as such was data mined in updates leading up to those dates. So I don't know the size of this update or what it may or may not add in, but it does get me hopeful or somewhat excited that we may get some more data mines or leaks around Wastelanders content. Or even another pre-Wastelanders quest like the one we saw from last year. But also something pretty interesting they say towards the end of this section. Wastelanders will not only contain new content for you to explore and conquer, but it will also include many fixes and improvements for issues that currently exist in the base game. Additionally, in patches that follow, we plan to return to the larger updates that you've come to expect. The way they word that, saying Wastelanders, but then patches that follow it up, it makes me feel like Wastelanders will actually just be one big update, and not in that weekly style like we saw with previous DLCs. Obviously just speculation, but something interesting I picked up on. Now as far as things going on in Fallout 76 right now, there have been a couple of pretty major occurrences. Currently there is a double XP event that is live, so if you want to play the game or get ready for Wastelanders, you can do so. A couple of interesting additions to the Atomic Shop. The cooler was finally added. This was seemingly going to be some type of freezer of sorts, but in reality it's the exact same price as a fridge and has the exact same functionality as a fridge. So not any worse than it was in the past. It's just a fridge that looks different and has a different name. And a few other free additions to Fallout first, but otherwise overall with that program, things have been pretty quiet. I presume Bethesda has been pretty busy on the Wastelanders update, but there were some other features or benefits promised that would come at some point, like an increased camp budget, that still have yet to get added, so it'll be interesting to see how that fits into the timeline. But then last but not least, to really end this off with some good news, Bethesda also has recently gone through a ban wave for Fallout 76. Of course, earlier in December, we talked about 2 major hacks that face the game. Players had the ability to spawn in certain props and items, human NPCs, and even create their own legendaries. And separately, people are able to steal entire inventories from other players. Many of the people that did this are getting banned from the game. And actually not just getting banned, but getting hardware ID bans. Meaning that several of the people to do this are having their main account banned, but also several of their secondary accounts that they also use to play Fallout 76. basically any of the accounts that were used on a certain PC. Now, how wide scale this is exactly isn't totally clear. The first reports of this started popping up a week ago last Friday, and at this point it seems like quite a few people have been affected. For many of these, it's technically an account suspension while Bethesda investigates further, and then several get an update that they are actually permabanned. Some others are actually getting a request for a phone call to kind of explain their side of the situation, although it does seem like for some users, they're not getting all of their accounts banned. Like the hardware ID aspect of this isn't working totally correct, but the vast majority of the time it seems to be effective. And yeah, this is good, definitely a little bit later than most people would have asked. It's been several weeks, especially since the first hack. It's almost been a full month since that happened. But definitely good progress and the type of ban wave you want to see. Not just banning one account, it's not just a slap on the wrist, but permabans for these players overall. And actually, including the person that made this video, he was also permabanned. Now, will this stop hacking in Fallout 76? Likely no. Many of these people bought accounts for very cheap on some of those sketchy websites, so they'll probably do that again. But for some, this may be a point of frustration or a catalyst that makes them just say, alright, I'm done, and not want to play anymore. Although as far as users that lost items or some of those spawned in 3-star legendaries, there are no updates on that. Bethesda seemingly is still trying to figure out how exactly to resolve those issues. But with all that being said, I would say it's overall really great news. A ton of positive stuff around Fallout 76 that does get me very hopeful for the future. Hopefully in the next few weeks we'll have some stuff to report on, whether it be data mines from this new update, or even just some other details around Wastelanders. You have to imagine that next week at the very least we'll get some more teases or images or something. But until then, as always again, I thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.